knew Clive Bundy or the Hammonds. He was ranching in Arizona, and on it, he worked really well with BLM. The BLM there worked really well with him. And then he just, ranched. That was his life. He just ranched. Hung out with his family. He ranched. He raised foster boys. And then he was up in Salt Lake at a mentor workshop program. And he heard about Clive Bundy. At this point, my dad has never met this man. He decides to, it's important, he needs to go figure out who this man is and what's going on. So he drives down, leaves his program, takes the 6 hours down, and goes and meets Clive Bundy. And after listening to Clive Bundy, he's like, he realized he was a good man, and he realized what was happening to him was wrong. And he was like, what can I do? How can I help? And he was like, well, you can be here in the morning. They're going to go take the cows back. So my dad goes home, gets his trailer, gets his horses, and heads back. And he stands with Clive, who he says is his neighbor, even though Clive's ranch is in Nevada. Many people are like, well, they were friends, they were throwing off the government together. It wasn't that way. My dad saw a neighbor in need and went and helped him. Well, the Bundy stand-up in 2014, that all ended well, or so he thought. Then my dad goes home, and he's sitting there, about to pay his fees to the BLM, and he's thinking, what the heck am I doing? Like, I just stood up against this. I know that it's morally wrong because they are unconstitutional, and he's like, what am I doing? And so he did some research, did some studying, and he then wrote a letter to Washington, D.C. and to our local BLM and said, basically, you're fired. I don't need your help managing my land. And after that, his good working relationship with the BLM went south. His water tanks started getting sabotaged. And in Arizona, like Texas still, you understand how precious water is. Like, you don't mess with people's water. So they started sabotaging his tanks. Cows started, missing here and there. And they started, throwing fees, threatening him. The FBI came back and started collecting the different agencies, trying to get them to comply. We had friends and family that were trying to get us to just, don't do this, don't do this, if you do this, it could hurt all of our other ranches, etc., etc. And my dad, he knew he had to do it because his obligation wasn't to his friends, his neighbors, it was to God. And he knew that if he didn't stand, all the things he had taught me growing up were just null and void. Like, if you don't stand by what you say, who cares? So he fired the BLM. And many of you have seen a lot of his videos on YouTube, and it's during that time, after he fired them, that a lot of these videos are happening. And you can see, he keeps track of the sabotage happening. So I encourage you guys all, if you haven't seen them, to go watch them. Well, he hears about a ranching family up in Oregon called the Hammond family. And he does some research, and he's like, this is wrong. There were a few things that got, like, if you want to see my dad get mad, bully someone who couldn't defend themselves. He hated people bullying other people, especially when it was a government against its own people. So he did research, and then he found out that they were just going to go back to prison. They weren't going to fight it, even though it was double jeopardy and all this other wrong stuff. He's like, I can't do anything. So he decided he was going to come down to Texas for a couple weeks, early January. And I was so excited to have my dad come down. And I called my mom, early January. I'm like, Mom, where's Dad? Like, is he almost here yet? She's like, no, he went up to Oregon. I was like, wait a second, what? That's the wrong direction. And he had gone up there to go give flowers, basically, to the Hammond's wife, and just basically give his condolences. They did a protest, and while he was up there, he learned about from Ammon. He's like, this has been going on with so many ranching families. We have to stand up for them. Like, we have to stand up for them. And he's like, and he had researched the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. He's like, this is the BLM's fortress in this town. Like, this town used to be up and coming town, and now it's just a welfare town or a government employee town now. And he's like, this is where they've had their stronghold, and they've kicked ranchers off left and right, left and right. When the Hammonds went back to prison, if they couldn't pay their fees, they had to give the federal government first rights to buy the land. They couldn't sell it to anyone else. Government gets first rights. So they went over into the wildlife refuge. It was like 30 miles out of town, middle of nowhere. And many of you have seen all that footage. But he went up there because, in his eyes, the Hammonds were his neighbor. And he understood that freedom lost anywhere was lost everywhere. And he was not okay with it. He was so furious that his own government would hassle innocent people and ruin their lives that have been lives that have gone on for generations in certain areas. My dad never had a speeding ticket. He was always, straight and narrow. You obey the law. Do as you're obey the law. And the BLM in his area were really good people. They were good people. But the BLM up in Nevada, the BLM up in Oregon were not. And my dad thought about it and said, if they have the power to do good, then they have the power to do bad. And according to our Constitution, they shouldn't have the power to be doing either. And the more he thought about it, it sickened him. He had to do something. And I wish more people were like him. Because not many people are willing to sacrifice their comfort to go stand for a neighbor. Because in their mind, it's a lost cause. What can I do? What does it matter? But it matters because at the end of the day, you have to look yourself in the eye and be honest with yourself. Did I shirk my responsibility? Am I willing to be free, or am I comfortable in my servitude? The BLM is an awful, awful organization. Let me find this. I want to find this. Got a Constitution in here. Okay. One of my favorite quotes is by Daniel Webster. He said, "It is hardly too strong to say that the Constitution was made to guard the people against the dangers of good intentions. There are men in all ages who mean to govern well, but they mean to govern. They promise to be kind masters, but they mean to be masters." The BLM has so many good intentions. Protecting the tortoise in Nevada, protecting apparently a spider in Texas, helping you manage your land so you don't ruin it. But there's a reason that they're not supposed to exist. Our founding fathers came from England, where they were tenants on land. They didn't own land. Right now, we don't own land. We're tenants to our government. That isn't freedom. That isn't freedom. I met a family in New York. He's a 2-time war vet. He has a wife in a wheelchair with MS. And he had a ranch completely paid off. He was 2 years delinquent in property tax. And he went in to go pay it. And they said, "Oh, sorry, Charlie, it's up for auction." He's like, no, let me pay it. This is my land. No, it's up for auction. How is it that you can work your whole life for something, and then at a drop of a hat, it can be taken away? I won't get started on property tax, because that's a whole lesson for another day. But this book, it's not like a book, okay, this document, if we want it to, it can protect us. And we can be free. But it takes daily diligence. It takes a ton of work. Like, sometimes I think to myself, like, you know, maybe being a slave isn't so bad. I could be lazy. And then I think about my kids and like what kind of life that is for them. We have to start standing for each other. Otherwise, we will all fall one by one. And we technically are slaves right now. We're servants, whatever word you want to use. Because to be free, you need life, liberty, and property. Property, there's no such thing as us owning property right now. I saw life being taken away when my dad was killed. I saw liberty being taken away when people were sent to prison wrongfully. These people haven't even been found guilty of anything, yet they've spent over a year in prison, put in solitary confinement, sexually abused. Like, the list goes on, and they have not even been found guilty of anything yet. I don't know what your guys' next steps are for you personally, because I can't tell you. I know for me what mine are, but all I can ask is that you educate yourselves enough to where your path of your next step starts being clearer, because we need to start taking it back, or we need to just sit down and shut up and accept the fact that we're slaves and stop pretending that we're not. I don't know, you guys, I'm glad to be home in Texas. I wish it felt more like Texas today. I really do. But if you don't know who my dad is, I encourage you to find out. There are a lot of lies out there. To me, I thought they were like just crazy, way out there lies, because I know who he is. But people actually believe it. I want you to find out who he was for yourself, because I've learned so much from him. I've learned even more from him as I watch his videos over and over again, and I start remembering all those lessons that he had given to me when I was young. I'm like, oh, he actually meant this. He wasn't just, putting on a good show. Obviously, I'm kind of preaching the choir because you guys are out here.